Wade in the water, we did wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. We are the sons and the daughters. We gotta stand up and make it loud. Just like our God told the Pharaoh, let my people go, go. We are a new generation from the ones who have come before. He's calling us into freedom. Let my people go, go. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God said He's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. We are the sons and the daughters. We gotta stand up and make it loud. Just like our God told the Pharaoh, let my people go, go. We are a new generation from the ones who have come before. He's calling us into freedom. Let my people go, go. We don't go shine up and shade. Give me a papa God where you make the heavens. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. The blood, sweat, and the tears that we gathered through the years. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God said He's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the
This is Lagoon Radio.
Good morning, this beautiful Tuesday morning, great people, and a very big welcome to you as you join the conversation again today on Lagoon Health Talk at Lagoon Radio, as we are broadcasting live to you from Marina, Lagos. And Lagoon Radio is your number one online gospel radio powered by the Diocese of Lagos, Church of Nigeria, Anglican Communion. You can visit our social media handles on Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria, Instagram and Twitter at Lagoonradio.Ng, and you can check us out online on online radio box / Lagoon Radio, and our YouTube channel on LagoonTV. I'm your host for today's Health Talk. My name is Olabisi and you can call me Radio Doctor, Lagoon Radio Doctor. Oh, what a nomenclature. Okay, the time is 40 minutes past 11 a.m. and we'll go on this music break and we'll be right back. Fasten your seatbelt. Stay connected.
This is Lagoon Radio.
When darkness tries to roll over my bones, when sorrow comes to steal the joy I own, when brokenness and pain is all I know, I won't be shaken. No, I won't be shaken. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love.
All right, you're welcome back. And last week, like I said, we discussed schizophrenia, and we said schizophrenia is actually a severe brain condition. And this week we'll be talking about psychosis. Psychosis is another topic on the mental health, and psychosis is a condition that affects one's brain and the way the brain processes information, which actually causes you to lose touch with reality. And psychosis is a combination of symptoms resulting in an impaired relationship with reality. It can be a symptom of serious mental health disorder, and people who are experiencing psychosis have either hallucinations or delusions, and they tend to see, hear, or believe things that are not real. And psychosis is a symptom, not an illness. So, and it can be triggered by a mental illness, it can be triggered by a physical injury, it can also be triggered by illness, substance abuse, um, triggered by extreme stress, and also triggered by trauma as well. Psychotic disorder like schizophrenia, like I said, schizophrenia is a serious mental disorder in which people interpret reality abnormally. So, psychotic disorders like schizophrenia involve psychosis that usually affects you for the first time, basically in the late teen years or early adulthood. And young people are especially likely to get it, but doctors don't know why young people are likely to get it. So, even before what doctors call the first episode of psychosis, one may show slight changes in the way he or she acts or thinks, and this is called a prodromal period. And it could last for days, it could last for weeks, months, even years. And sometimes one can lose touch with reality even when one doesn't have a primary psychotic illness such as schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is another topic under the mental health series, which we'll be talking about during the course of our mental health series. So when this happens, basically, it's called secondary psychosis. And these episodes stem from something else like drug use, drug abuse, or other medical conditions, and whatever the reason, they tend to disappear in a short time, and they always stay away if you treat them, or if you treat the condition that actually caused them. So that means you treat them symptomatically. That's the way it is. Psychosis is you treat them symptomatically. We have some types of psychosis. We have schizophrenia, we have schizoaffective disorder, schizophreniform disorder, brief psychotic disorder, delusion disorder, substance induced psychotic disorder. So for schizophrenia is actually the most psychotic disorder, and is the most common psychotic disorder. And patients with schizophrenia experience changes in behavior. They experience delusion, they experience hallucination that lasts not longer than 6 months. And like we said last week, that for patients with psychosis, they tend to withdraw, like there's a kind of withdrawal, and there's a kind of fear, there's a kind of hallucinations. They tend to see a lot of things that even other people around them cannot see. And those diagnosed with this type of disorder often show a decline in social function, also a decline at school, at work, even at home. Like they just, how would I even put it? They just come down suddenly. Like they don't want to talk to anybody. They don't want to mix with anybody. They just want to be on their own. They just want to do their stuffs all by themselves. Like they don't want to associate. So then we also have this schizoaffective disorder. Patients with this kind of disorder have symptoms of both mood disorder, such as depression and schizophrenia. So depression would actually set in and all that. So depression is also another topic, is also another important topic in our mental health series. We'll be discussing that too during the course of um, doing our mental health series. So we also have schizophreniform disorder. This is when a patient with schizophrenia has symptoms that last fewer than 6 months, or yes, have symptoms that last fewer than 6 months. I want to actually compare it with schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is for one to be able to say, oh, this person has schizophrenia, or oh, I have schizophrenia. The symptoms would, you actually have to observe yourself, and for at least 6 months, like, yeah, for at least 6 months, if you don't have maybe hallucination, delusion, fear, anxiety, all those usual common symptoms of schizophrenia, if you don't experience it within at least 6 months, maybe one or two of them, or it could even be all those symptoms, if you don't experience those symptoms for at least 6 months, then you can't just come into conclusion that you or someone around you is having schizophrenia. So same as this schizophreniform disorder, when a patient with schizophrenia has symptoms that last fewer than 6 months, are diagnosed with schizophreniform disorder. Then we have a brief psychotic disorder. Is when someone has only short or sudden episodes of psychosis or of psychotic behavior. The condition is diagnosed as brief psychotic disorder. Like, it just comes suddenly and stays for a short time. It doesn't last. And these episodes are typically a response to a stressful situation and usually lasts less than a month. And basically, I would say a lot of people actually go through this brief psychotic disorder. And growing up, when I was in secondary school, we call it 5 minutes madness. Psychosis is not madness; is a mental health issue, right? But it's not madness. And you tend to display this thing maybe when you're stressed. Maybe you just came back home from work after the whole 2 to 3 hours traffic, spending like some times or some hours of your lifetime inside traffic, and you get home, and take for example, you now meet everywhere upside down, or you tend to flare, your mood tends to change, and you tend to display some funny things and all that, you understand. So that's the way it is. If you're a kind of person that you've proposed in your heart not to talk, you just keep quiet. There's nothing they tell you in that house that you would want to respond to, you know so that's the way it is. And if you're a kind of person that loves to express yourself, you just shout, just shout, just scream on everybody's head in the house and all that. So that's actually an example of a brief psychotic disorder. Then we have delusional disorder. Patients that have false fixed beliefs involving real life situations that could be true, such as having a disease or being conspired against, are diagnosed with delusional disorder. So for example, now, if you're a kind of person that believes everything you do, your village people will always want to come after you, or maybe you're a kind of person that maybe you achieve a higher height at your workplace, or your business starts progressing, and you now encounter some challenges. You just start believing that, oh, my village people are after me. Even if there's no village people that is after you, you believe that, oh, my village people are after me and all that. So that kind of thing. Or if you believe that, oh, my chest is paining me, hey, could this be a spiritual attack, and all that. So there are people like that. They believe that any challenges they face, anything they go through, it's from someone else, or it's from a group of people or a set of people. I want to tell you that not everything that affects you is from your village people, or not every challenges you go through as a result of conspiracy. So this kind of things, it's actually one of the examples of delusional disorder, and this delusion persists for at least 1 month. So then we also have substance-induced psychotic disorder, like its name implies, substance-induced psychotic disorder. Sometimes withdrawal from substances like alcohol can cause delusions and hallucinations. Take for example, if maybe someone that has been a drug abuse patient and all that, and the person actually needs rehabilitation. My dear, rehabilitation is not an easy thing. Really, it's not an easy thing, but that rehabilitation is just to correct that person's lifestyle. Maybe you don't want that person to keep abusing drugs and all that, so you have to keep that place in an isolated place, restricting the person's access to the things he or she is used to. Take for example, if it's a kind of person that takes hard drugs, you have to take the person away from where he or she would have access to hard drugs. So while going through that processes, the person or the patient would tend to have experience delusions, experience hallucinations, experience a whole lot of things, start seeing what people cannot see and all that, start hearing what people cannot hear, because the body is actually trying to adjust to the new thing that has actually been introduced to it, and that is the rehabilitation. So this type of psychosis is known as substance-induced psychotic disorder. Let's go on another music break, and we'll be right back to discuss the symptoms, the causes and risk factors, and all that. What have you concerning psychosis? Stay connected to Lagoon Radio. We'll be right back.
This is Lagoon Radio.
Every beating heart, there's a longing that reaches past the stars. There's an answer to every question mark. There's a name. There's a hope flowing through these veins. There's a voice echoes through the pain. There's an ember ready for the flame. There's a name. We will fix our eyes on the one who overcame. We will stand in awe of the one who breaks the chains. Love has a name.
All right, you're welcome back, and you're still on the mental health series where we've been discussing psychosis here on Lagoon Radio. So, what are the symptoms of psychosis? Basically, psychosis doesn't actually start suddenly. It follows a particular pattern, and I would highlight the pattern. The pattern is first and foremost, there are warning signs before psychosis. There's always a warning sign. And it starts with gradual change in the way you think about or understand the world as a whole. Then you and your family members might actually notice this following symptoms. One, trouble thinking clearly or concentrating, a drop in grades or a drop in your job performance, suspicions and unease around others. Yeah. I'd love to explain this one. Let me just be taking it one after the other. I don't mind. If we don't finish this particular topic today, we'll come back next Tuesday to complete it. For the drop in grades in school or drop in job performance, it's actually one of the early signs or one of the warnings before psychosis. Like you just discover that you're not doing well at work. Maybe you're always a go-to person at work, and all of a sudden you're no longer effective. Like whatever you do just turns out bad at work and all that, and you'll be wondering what's happening. Then another one is trouble thinking clearly. There are times that one's brain might actually feel heavy, and you might not, like, you won't be able to think clearly, you won't be able to concentrate. Anything they tell you as it's entering your right ear is coming through the left ear, or as it's entering the left ear is coming through the right ear, is one of the early signs and a warning sign before psychosis. And there are times you will say, my brain feels stressed, I can't think straight, I can't comprehend, I can't just, you won't just be able to put things together. Then I also have suspicions and unease around others. Maybe when you're around your friends, your family, or whatever set of people, you start having your own suspicions. Maybe like, does this person want to attack me, or this person wants to steal from me? Like all those things. Then we also have lack of self-care or hygiene. Like you don't just care about yourself, you just do things carelessly. Like you no longer make a conscious effort to actually take care of yourself. You lack personal hygiene and all that. There are some people that naturally they are not hygienic, that's their natural self. But if you're this kind of person that you're always conscious of your hygiene, you're always conscious of yourself from the onset, and all of a sudden you tend not to care for yourself anymore, and nothing actually moves you anymore. Like if anywhere wants to get dirty, let it get dirty. You just leave it that way. It's one of the warning signs of psychosis. Then spending more time than usual alone, spending more time alone than usual. Like you just want to be on your own. Though we have people that are basically introverts, but at least if even introverts have friends, let me put it that way. Even an introvert have at least someone that he or she calls a friend. But if you're kind of person that you just feel more comfortable being on your own, spending more time alone than you ought to, it's actually one of those things. Then if you have stronger emotions than the situation call for, maybe what you're not supposed to put in your emotions to, you just have the stronger emotions for it, stronger than normal emotions. Then if you have no emotions at all, it's actually one of the signs of psychosis. Maybe anything happening around you, you just see it as normal. You don't show emotions even to things that are emotional. So those are the warning signs of psychosis. Then we have signs of early psychosis, which are hearing, seeing, or tasting things others don't taste. Take for example, my producer is doing. Take for example, maybe you're in the house and maybe they fry egg for you, for example. And everybody is eating this egg. They are saying, oh, this egg is yummy, this egg is sweet. And you are tasting kerosene inside this egg. And you'll be like, why is this thing tasting kerosene like this? Why is this thing? And others are like, the taste is okay now. or maybe someone makes they make tea in the house. They want to take breakfast, tea and bread, and you be like, this sugar in this tea is not enough. And you're like, I put enough sugar. In fact, I put like 8 cubes of sugar. You be like, no, 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 it's not enough. And someone else tastes that the same thing and be like, sugar eat it more you. Tasting what others don't, then seeing or hearing what others um don't see. Basically, there's something we call deja vu, and it happens to people. That is not psychosis, but you are seeing things that others will be like, I'm not seeing this thing now. Maybe you be like, you didn't see that woman beside her car, and others are not seeing it, or you're hearing things others are not hearing. That's actually one of the early signs of psychosis. We also have hanging on to unusual beliefs or thoughts, no matter what others says. Like you have your own belief, you have your own thoughts. Apart from having the normal your religious belief and all that, or you know, maybe you have your own belief separate from the rest of the beliefs we have. It's an early sign of psychosis. Then pulling away from family and friends, stop taking care of yourselves, not being able to think clearly or not being able to pay attention is an early sign of psychosis. Then we also have symptoms of a psychotic episode because usually you notice all of those things I've mentioned in addition to hallucinations, delusions, negative symptoms, catatonia. For hallucinations, we talked about hallucinations, delusions, and all those things. We talked about it last week during our session of discussion on schizophrenia. Like we have auditory hallucinations where you hear voices when no one is around you. Then we also have tactile hallucinations where you have strange sensations or feelings that you cannot explain. We also have visual hallucinations where you see people or things that are not there, or you think the shape of things look wrong, like or maybe you're looking at TV. Basically, we know that a television has a rectangular shape, and you'll be like, this television looks like a rhombus. It's not rectangle. And everybody are seeing rectangle, but you're seeing a rhombus, and all that. So then we also have delusions like beliefs that are not in line with your culture and beliefs that doesn't make sense to others, like outside forces are in control of your feelings and actions. Take for example, if you're someone with high temperament, maybe after you finish displaying your temper, and you now be like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Or it's like there are spiritual forces that are actually trying to trigger my temper. I'm not like this. And basically, you're a temperamental person, and you are blaming your temperament on your village people or on spiritual forces that are sitting down jejely on their own. Then for delusions too, like small events or comments having huge meaning, like you read a huge meaning to, no matter how little that thing is, you just read a very big meaning to it, like you just expand it, and people around you will be like, wow, sure, yeah, be me, he passed this. It's another sign of psychosis. Then when you feel that you have special powers, or you feel that you're on a special mission, or you feel that you are a god, like anybody doesn't matter to you. Even if you see Agbero that brings out gun or knife, you want to face that Agbero and say, yeah, you don't share, I'm going to face you, all those things. And from your heart of heart, or honestly speaking, you don't have power, small power like this you don't have, but you have this feeling that you're more than the way you are. You have those feelings that you have special powers. My dear brothers and sisters, this is an early sign of psychosis, or let me say it's another sign of psychotic episode. Then I have with me negative symptoms like seemingly having no emotions, lack of interest in activities you previously enjoyed. Like I said earlier, that there are people that naturally they are just introverts. They just want to be on their own. They are just reserved. Like if you don't call them to do anything, they will just be there. They won't do anything. But if you're a kind of person that if you're an extrovert, or you're a kind of person that they see you here and there and all that, and You know, if you're a kind of person that show care to people around you, and all of a sudden you now start, your emotions now start dropping, you know, then you now start lacking interest in activities that you enjoy doing, or having interest, you now start lacking interest in things you enjoy doing before. It's actually another symptoms. And ungroomed appearance too. If you're someone that you always pim before, like, you know, finicking person, and all of a sudden you just don't care, you just do your things and just go like that, is another symptom. Then we have catatonia. Like, catatonia is a group of symptoms that usually involve lack of movement and communication, and it can also include agitation, confusion, and restlessness. So commonly, a person who is experiencing psychosis can often have confusing and disrupted thoughts, and some examples are constant talking with rapid speech patterns, then switching topics mid-sentence with no explanation. You know, there are some people that if they want to talk, maybe they want to say Ada is a girl. Before they say that Ada is a girl, they will branch so many bus stops before they now tell you that Ada is a girl. Or at the end of the day, they might end up not telling you Ada is a girl anymore. Like, they just switch topics at the middle of the sentence. Then lastly, on the symptoms of psychosis is a sudden loss of their train of thought, causing them to pause or freeze abruptly. So like, maybe they start talking, and by the time they keep talking, like, they just lose their thoughts. They can't align what they are trying to say. So they pause and they just freeze abruptly, and you be like, it's different from maybe when you're trying to say something and you're trying to get the right words for it, and you're trying to like you know, it's entirely different. But you know, when you're having a conversation with someone and the person just suddenly freezes or suddenly pauses, you know, it's it's an example of psychotic disorder. So that'll be all for today's episode of Mental Health Series. We'll continue this same topic next Tuesday because our time is fast spent. This topic is actually very, very broad, and it needs to be explained properly so that we can know what to do whenever we find someone close to us in a situation like this. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria, Instagram and Twitter at LagoonRadio.Ng, and of course our YouTube channel on Lagoon TV. Stay connected to Lagoon Radio, as I'll be right back next Tuesday to discuss the causes and risk factors of psychosis, the diagnosis of psychosis, the treatment of psychosis, and the medical conditions. We also have hormonal shifts as well, and what have you. All right, stay connected to Lagoon Radio. It's a bye from me to you. Have a nice day.
This is Lagoon Radio.
In the water, we did wait.